2021 due to a partnership, a technical partnership with DAZN for the distribution over IP of the Serie A League Football Championship.
Which was a big change at the time, right? You know,
yeah,
it was the first
absolutely.
time the football was moving from broadcast, that was
was
terrestrial,
really
and
the
satellite onto IP, right?
Yeah. At that time, it was the first time that such a big event will be distributed in IP only. And that was really a primer for Italy and for most of other countries. So at that time, we were really concerned and looking into how to scale capacity of the network, in particular for peaks of traffic consumption in particular events. So really localized and in particular, let's say, slot in terms of timing. So at that time, we thought that multicast will be the best solution in terms of efficiency and scalability, looking, again, in particular at the capacity, so increasing and making sure that resources, network resources would be enough for that.
And maybe you can explain why capacity is bad in a way, right? Because it's static,
yeah,
power consumption. Why putting more capacity is negative impact on the environment?
Yeah, well, first of all, we need in our network somehow to evaluate the need of capacity. Need of capacity in particular for streaming means machines, hardware. So there is an impact in terms of consumption of electricity, consumption of machine that you need to buy, that need to be cooled and need to be hosted in the data center. So also an impact in terms of facilities needed. But again, the interesting thing is that really the first topic was looking into the capacity problem. Then we had an inspiring conversation with friends from Greening of Streaming that basically allowed us to look a bit on a different perspective what we have achieved and what we have deployed, looking also closely to how this new technology may have an impact in reducing the resources that are needed and the consumption, the energy consumption that is needed to provide services. So this opened really an interesting thread, and everybody internally in the team was really curious about understanding how you measure, how you can extract KPI, what you are doing with this KPI, and how to balance things at the end, making a trade-off with investment, increasing capacity, scaling, but also in terms of impact, energy efficiency, and also waste reduction, why not, in terms of hardware changing and life cycle of the hardware.
Right, so we had foundation, right? We had you know, someone who's done it already with a third-party content providers, someone who understood already that that capacity would drive basically CO2 emissions. What was missing for this to work? Right? Maybe I go to you, Emma. What, when we started, what did we need to do? Why do we think this project was required?
Well, I think there's little collaboration across the industry. I think that's clear. And so this project really brought together the collaboration between there, and the next point in is not only with the sort of the last mile networks, but how do we bring some of the global streaming providers into those next networks, and how do we then get the likes of global CDNs like an Edgio to integrate to use shared infrastructure within the last mile. So really trying to utilize what's already installed within the last mile to be able to, why should we then build again and have streams going alongside? So maybe for those that aren't so familiar with the streaming world in terms of the difference in the unicast and multicast. So effectively, if you've got 5 million viewers, you'd have 5 million streams going through. Now we'd be able to deliver a handful of streams in the different formats into the last mile to be able to deliver through and then going into the homes. And so it reduces significantly the amounts, and I think the results have been quite phenomenal going there. So I think this is the first time really there's been many of us within the group in a normal world back 12 months ago would have been competing with each other. So, you know, there is sort of within here that collaboration that if we all come together and do this to solve this challenge, we'll be in a better place moving forward. I
think it's a good point, right? It's sustainable business in both sense of the term, right? You know, making it economically, you know, sustainable, because we know today the streaming industry is suffering, right? You know, a lot of streamers are losing money. So if we can optimize delivery, we can probably lower the cost, but also it's the right thing, right? We do it for the environment. And back to Diego's point, if we can avoid putting more capacity, it's net reduction over time of CO2.
Yeah, it's breaking also a kind of way of thinking or mindset. So until now, when you need capacity, you add services, and it's the cost of thinking. It's much costly compared to adding services. So with such initiative, here we put in the center of the village the engineer, because the challenge is very simple. As Emma said, we have millions of same copies delivered to end user customers. And what engineers think about this? Yeah, we do carpooling for streams. It's the multicast. It's really the reaction to have as an engineer. So
you're right, and you make a good point, right? Especially for live. Right? Up until now, we've seen the global CDN. We've seen the delivery of content, of VOD content. That was the bulk of the content, and the answer was to put more servers in. Right? You look at the Netflix model. How many servers Netflix has? I don't know, 18, 20,000 globally, and they use pretty much every day because we all watch on Netflix and stuff. Great. But for live, if you want sports, then it's a different story. If we put loads of servers that are used, 2 hours, 3 hours in a week, that's pretty bad, right? This is capacity that is underused, and again, a cost that is not necessarily very well.
The other challenge that, the idea could be good, intuitive, carpooling for streaming, and the goal of this initiative is to have a common implementation, common approach to implement this idea, to have our goal is adoption and make this initiative global. There is no, all initiatives have the same goal. It's reducing the investment on the materials and manufacturing materials and electric consumption. So the idea is how to break the barrier adoption.
Very good, very good. Yeah, the best servers are the one we don't deploy, right?
For sure.
Very good. So, so tell us, right? We've been working together. We managed to, achieve some interesting numbers with some content. Maybe, what we did with Wright, I think it was in Italy, Diego.
Yeah, correct. As Walid said, one of the objectives was also to create, let's say, a baseline for further work. So it was really a starting point, and to start in the right way and provide also a sort of platform for others to join and make experiment and be part of this activity. We also try to be concrete. So working on a model, we will see later the details, but on a model, trying to catch all the data available and the trend in terms of energy consumption for the different scenario, but also trying to be concrete, creating a real end-to-end test bed with resources in network that are in the public network. So it's not something that we build up in a lab, but it's a sort of end-to-end system that is out there in the public network, and it works. Putting together pieces that comes from big telecom network and resources, team resources, technology, and service provided by Broadpeak, and all the global CDN infrastructure provided by HDO. And of course, in this, let's say, exercise, during this creation of the test bed, we had the inputs and help of two important broadcasters, TF1 for France and Rai, which is the public service national broadcaster in Italy. This was really something that was important to understand whether what we thought in terms of blueprint
this is the proof,
was
right?
actually
Does
working.
it work for someone like Rai or someone like TF1?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to validate the interface, to validate the underlying technology, to build the end-to-end system and show that really the content can flow from any content provider throughout our solution and our platform just to the customer and the end user. And then on top of this test bed, we can study, we can collect data, we can understand how measurement works and what are really the valid measurement and KPI that we need to control, take care, and monitor along the let's say, the service life.
It's probably worth mentioning humans, not robots, at this point.
Absolutely.
In terms of, they have been with us side by side all the way through in terms of their experience on how to measure all of the metrics that we were trying to measure. And we're very much just at the start of this. And the results that we've got has been a result of them keeping us straight, not trying to over-exaggerate, and really just trying to measure what we can measure at this point. And then part of moving forwards is what else we can measure through the whole ecosystem. But we've had great results moving through.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing I just wanted to add to what you were saying was, the more people that use this sort of solution, the better it is, the better adoption we have, the more that the content providers will be able to come through. And so all of it is based on open standards. And in terms of the integration between, the global CDNs coming into the Broadpeak technology within the last mile is all based on open standards and SVTA, open caching standards. And so really trying to reduce barriers to entry to make it easier to adopt moving forwards, and really making that straightforward.
Great. So let's talk numbers.
So, before numbers, we talked a lot about the multicast distribution, but another foundation of the proposed solution is the mutualization. So the idea is to the peak traffics are very different between broadcasters. So the idea is when we introduced a global CDN in the workflow, it's the end-to-end workflow. So the idea is how to utilize the peaks to invest one time for the distribution. So the first results are great. So we modeled, we modelized all the distribution workflows, and we achieved. We are between 50 and 90% of material investment, traffic reduction,
Being reduced,
reduced, and for sure when there are no hardware, there is no energy consumption. So yeah, globally we are between 50 and 90% of savings on these three types of traffic. But also hardware, the number of servers that are involved in the distribution, and for sure the consumption, energy consumption. Yeah.
And it's worth saying at this point that we are going to see more and more live streaming traffic, live OTT traffic. We start to talk about switching off broadcast, so that means a lot more streaming traffic will go over the telco network. So what we've done, and to your point, Emma, I think it was interesting to model it over time and thinking, okay, if we get a lot more streaming, if we get more 4K content, what is the impact on the network? And then how can we delay capacity upgrade to basically reduce, the CO2 footprint? That's the idea. Very good. So, we talked a little bit about the numbers. We said that we're able to deliver third-party content, and it sounds like our broadcasters were happy with this, right? So it's all positive. It's positive for the end users as well, better quality, I think, at the end. But is this viable economically? Do we have, something that has legs or not? Emma.
Yeah, so I think, overall, our role in this is to bring the content providers through to there. So they really much, what do they want out of this? They want, as Xavier say, they want high quality delivery, they want secure delivery, and they want it to be economically viable. I think as we kind of touched on a little bit, the economics of that live streaming, and it really is a user case for live streaming, is a challenge across there. Content providers are struggling to monetize their content, moving into some of the AVOD, SVOD, or the sort of monetizing the live content. Do they charge for the live content? Do they buy the live content and have it as a loss leader for their overall subscription? Like, how do we all make money out of the live streaming? And the ecosystem, I think we're at quite an inflection point right now in terms of where we are in that live streaming world. And so this project had to really not have too much additional cost in it. So where I sit, I work a lot with the telcos, and they're very, very strong on goals towards sustainability. And, and these two companies here are absolutely shining lights of that, and absolutely great. When I work with the content providers, they very much need good, high quality delivery. And I'm not going to say sustainability isn't on their agenda, because that would be too broad a statement. But they really want it's not as high, and they won't put dollars towards it. So this project had to really make sure that we were doing everything at a decent cost coming through. And I think at each point in the value chain here, so I think that there is cost savings to be made within the telco networks. There's cost savings to be made within the CDN world. There's a huge amount. I mean, I think we've underplayed a little bit the amount of savings that we've been able to simulate and come through in terms of the vast numbers of server build that we'll be able to avoid in the future, and probably be able to decommission some of the servers, increasing the percentage utilization of equipment that is already there. For much, much longer as well, moving through. And so there's a massive reduction in the server build out needed moving forwards, and I think it's economically viable moving through. And to be fair, this is kind of anybody that's worked in this sort of world will know how difficult it is to get, multiple different telcos in a room to discuss the commercials of moving into the network for anyone. And so I think it's quite innovative in this project. And I've been really quite excited and proud to be able to bring these conversations too, in terms of commercially, how we're going to make this work. Let's have a grown-up conversation about how we're going to make this work. And I think we've come to some really good. We've still got some more work to do in the business models, but everything is going completely in the right direction.
Yeah, I think, if I may, that's the key word that has been already said is mutualization of the resources. So we are somehow disrupting the model where we create the silos of technology, of server, of platform for each single customer, because everyone was to keep his own niche of, let's say, relationship with content provider, with the customer, and whatever. So when you start mutualizing resources, you really have the benefit in terms of efficiency, in energy consumption, because you really are able to exploit your platform at 100%, so at full capacity, what you have in place, reducing cost and reducing the impact at the end, eventually, in the environment.
Yeah.
So this is really the key point, the turning point, let's say.
I was going to say that, it feels like we're at a turning point, right? Even in the streaming industry, we start to see rebundling of the streaming application, mutualizing, making it easier for customers. I think interesting time, right?
Even for the telco industry, there is a big trend about the exposing network as a service. So and it was one of reasons that we headed to TM Forum. TM Forum is involved in camera, open gateway initiatives.
So they do interesting things like carrier billing, for example. Netflix can bill their service through those APIs. Right?
Yeah, so there is an opportunity and to get for this kind of initiative about exposing the capacity of networks to better efficiency about distribution and making values.
So there's a trend in telcos to open infrastructure, to try and monetize this infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's a trend, I think, also in the streaming to be more open. I think maybe from a global CDN as well, there's, I think a bit of a turning point. We've seen AGO doing interesting things with different networks as well. There was an announcement with BT recently, right?
Yeah, so we've obviously worked with here. We're trying to solve or look at innovative ways as opposed to just building more servers, trying to get, the innovation within the hardware and the innovation in the software, trying to get, more bits through. Like, how can we try and do something a little bit different? So there's this project, and then we have been working with BT for a couple of years on their MORD. So it's a similar but slightly different project, multicast assisted unicast delivery for those that wanted to go through. And we're going live in December with them on their EETV, and hoping to move some more content providers through that. And multicast is obviously not so popular within the US. I think maybe that's an understatement. And so some of the work we've been trying to do there in terms of looking at innovative solutions is we've been working with Sinclair, doing some live offload onto ATSC 3.0, which has been really interesting. But everything for us in terms of us as a business has to be high quality. The high quality is absolutely paramount in everything that we do. And so, just want to stress again, it's got to be economically viable, great quality, as well as being sustainable. Any one of those three, and there's no project and no implementation.
Yeah.
So.
Very good, very good. So,
it's a combination between two way of thinking between the American people about the climate change. Yeah, we should find the right technology to solve all the problems, versus European people said, yeah, more sobriety. So this kind of initiatives, combination of the two way of thinking, it could be a great thing. Yeah.
No, but it's good to see things moving in the right direction. Again, to your point with ATSC, it's mutualizing. It's using something that was designed for something else, but also using it for streaming. So we think we're moving in the right direction. So we have about, I think, 10 minutes left. We'll ask maybe one more questions here, and we open the floor after that. So what's next, right? In terms of future plans, where do we go from here? We've done this first phase. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Two points. Basically, go further in terms of measurement. Measurements are the foundation of all works about the sustainability. We need data to improve our efficiency. So for sure, we should we must work on this point to have more real-time data. All results are focused on CDN parts, but the video workflow is end-to-end workflow, so we need to instrument all the end-to-end video workflow to have more data and evaluate the efficiency what we're doing. This is the first topic. The second topic, as I said at the beginning, is the adoption barrier. So more we simplify the implementation, more we will be around this initiative, and I understand that content provider we think with worldwide fingerprint. We will not implement in each country a solution. So the target is to have common implementation, perhaps some fine-tuning, some tweaks at some points, but the need is to have the common way of to implement this solution. And yeah, we're discussing with Emma and BT as well to have a common implementation about all this. So,
which makes sense, right?
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Most of the players are global. We've seen, DAZN in Italy, in Spain. They're now in France, right? They got the right of the French football, so you're going to see them taking space in your network soon.
Great. Yeah.
So it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. So yeah, this is basically the 2 points. There's when we talk about the multicast and the carpooling, if we are not going to the same destination, it's very, very problematic. So yeah, what about hyper-personalization today and targeted advertisement? So yeah, we should there is some solution about shaping traffic and so on. So we are working on this, and could be a great work for the phase 2.
Next step.
Yeah, next step. Yeah.
Very good. Diego, where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, we completed the first phase, let's say, of our project, and now we need to reopen the discussion, have brainstorming, long sessions, and I would invite anyone interested in the topic really to provide inputs to see whether it will fit in our idea for the evolution. There are several, let's say, streams that can be investigated, maybe too much, even too much. We need to select some of the most promising and try to really go in depth with those. For sure, for measurement and understanding KPI and how modelize the actual behavior are elements that are the foundation of any developments that we can do. Another really important thing, really to take action inside the networks, inside the backend energy-wise, is automation. And how automation of the network can be combined with real-time or near real-time data, energy consumption, down to the single service, to the single stream, to better understand behaviors, and then make out energy model that are bound somehow to the traffic consumption. This is really challenging. We are not there yet. Maybe we will arrive in some years, but it's really a challenging topic, and we are, I think, all excited to be on board.
You make a good point, right, with the flexibility around services, right? So today everything is static. If you deploy CDN with a certain amount of capacity, you will use a lot of power all the time. You're going down the path of potentially dropping the capacity when the CDN is not busy, and then using less power, and then ramp it up with the audience, right? So this is something, interesting.
There are tools.
Yeah.
We really need to say, customize them and put them at work energy-wise.
So we have it measuring, mutualizing, breaking silos, automating. What else, Emma? Is there anything else we should be doing?
Well, I think it's use it, prove it, use it at scale, measure it, improve it, and just keep going through the cycle and seeing how we can improve through there. And I think Wally touched on the hyper-personalization. I think there is still some debate in the industry about the benefit of hyper-personalization on large-scale live events. Do you actually need that in a VOD catalog when you're streaming on the VOD? The personalization, I think, is very, very valuable, and people see that. On a large-scale live event, if everybody's watching the Champions League final, the Super Bowl, do you actually need hyper-personalization in there? And is it worth having, a mutualized solution like this and a little bit less personalization versus having hyper-personalization at massive cost? And I think some of those business models need to be sort of proved out and really worked through. And I think that's a good conversation to open up, and slightly controversial. And so I think we should be having those. We should be having those conversations. So you can't have everything. You've got the quality, secure delivery. Global delivery. We've got to have some pluses and minuses, but we're trying to work in terms of next steps in how can we solve some of those other problems anyway, so that we can try and have it all.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Walid.
Thank you.